Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We're on Twitter right now on the global side of things, and the monthly producer's letter has dropped. I have already watched this all the way through, but there's some key and specific events that I want to talk about. One of them is the new beginner power surge pack. The new beginner pack is being revamped, which is good. It's never usually expensive. I think usually it's quite cheap. And then also some of the survey questions really did pique my interest of where the global version is headed. So I'm going to take a look. We are indeed on 92 subs. We're 8 subs off 100 subscribers. I know it's not a lot, but considering I didn't start the channel too long ago, it's kind of mad. So if you are new here, do consider hitting the big red subscribe button. It is indeed free. And also, if you have been enjoying the content, don't forget to drop a like. But if you do want to watch this, it is just over on the Twitter. You can go check it out yourself. But as I said, I've already seen it. They do talk about the Dokkan Battle Hour like early on, which cool. They had new missions and stuff. But first off, they have the Beginner's Power Surge pack because they're now revamping the Beginner's pack, which, as I said, is not usually expensive, usually quite cheap. And in the Beginner's pack, you can get 50 stones and a Power Surge ticket, which is already pretty decent value considering you're getting a free summon and also 50 stones probably for not all that much. So if you're a newer player, this is going to be really useful for you. It's also meant to be beneficial for older players as well. I mean, for older players, you're probably going to be here for the stones, and then kind of the tickets are kind of like a bonus, you know, for a unit you may not have who's been kind of ducking you all this time, or maybe to have dupes. But as it goes on, it shows you the units that you can get, which the units are okay. You know, these units are very old at this point, and have aged. But there's not bad choices. I mean, Trunks is still useful for longer events. Same with the transforming Super Saiyan Goku. SSBK without dupes is, I mean, he's a glass cannon anyway. He isn't great, but with dupes, he is definitely better. Bardock is useful for longer events. Still not amazing, though. Damage is quite meh. This Boo's okay, so is Gotenks. Gotenks is useful for SBR and ESBR with a stun. This Frieza is good for longer events as well. Gogeta's still good as well, especially if you have dupes. Janemba, poorly designed, still a useful unit. And then Broly, I mean, I've talked about Broly so much, but Broly's an amazing unit. Dupes, no dupes, he's amazing. So yeah, they're not bad choices. Obviously, if you're a newer player, you might be missing a lot of these, so it has a lot more value to you. Obviously, in us more kind of seasoned vets, if you will, you may need 1, maybe 2 or 3 of these. These units are not going to be useful to you. You may be missing Broly, you may be missing Gogeta or Janemba, you know, but for the most part, this is probably mainly useful for newer players, you know, so there is that, of course. And then next up, we have the, I think they're dropping a banner, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're dropping a Power Surge Dokkan Festival banner, which, by the way, global players, I don't think I need to reiterate to you. Do not summon on this banner at all. I do not like telling people where to put their stones or when not to. Do not summon on this banner whatsoever. I know there might be some newer players who are like, well, I don't have like half the units here. Trust me, just wait to the anniversary, or wait, not even the anniversary, but there are going to be a lot more hype things that drop over the next few months, including Saiyan Day, than summoning on this. For example, these 2 units are actually on the, tell a lie. These 3 units are actually on the anniversary banners. You do not summon this. Do not use your stones on this. If you get tickets from this, if this is where the tickets can go as well, use the tickets if you do buy the beginner's pack. If it is used on stones or there's a stone variant, do not spend your stones on here. Do not. He needs an Easy A. He's aged terribly. You don't use him anymore. His Easy A is good. Like, you just don't use these 2 anymore. These 2 are okay, fully bought up, but again, they're going to be on the anniversary banners. They have aged quite a bit. This guy is okay. Gohan's amazing. He's probably the only, like, true valued unit on this banner. Do not use your stones on it. I repeat, global players, do not use your stones on this banner. Just do not do it. It is not worth it in the slightest. But then we get to the survey portion of things, which is where things get interesting. And I quite like this kind of, well, it's not really direct line of communication, but it's quite an open line of communication. Yes, they have their own questions panned out, but I quite like it. You know, they can kind of take the general consensus. So the first one is, what are your thoughts about, is this the first one? It is. It's, what are your thoughts about high difficulty events? You know, GT Goku event, Vegeta event, God event, SBR, ESBR, the red zone that is currently on JP that we'll end up getting. So A is I would like more of these types of events. B, I would like them to be easier to play. C, I'm enjoying them, no need for changes. D, they are too difficult, so I'm not playing them. C for me is just immediate no-no. C basically implies these events are fine as they are. We don't need any more. No more new content. No, definitely not. I think for me it has to be A. Just more events means more content, means more, more missions to complete, more rewards. Just because they're difficult doesn't mean it's always going to be more difficult than the last. It could slot in somewhere. But A just means more content. More challenging content for more rewards, and it means more stuff to do. 100% A. 100% A. You can let me know down in the comments for each question what answer you would choose to hear the general consensus. There has to be A, more content in the game. That's only a good thing going forward. More content in the game. The next one is, what is your expectation for the friend function? A, I would like to play against friends. B, I would like to team up with friends. C, I would like to interact with friends. D, I'm satisfied with the current function. No need for changes. Again, D means no D. No, you hear me? No D. Unless you like D, but not this D. Other D. Okay. But yeah, A intrigues me because for them to ask these questions means they have thought about these changes and improvements to the game. They've thought about a PvP system. They thought about potential new harder events in the game. So that's why they're asking. So for them to add a PvP system would actually intrigue me a lot, because Dokkan's been a single player game for, well, now 7 years. But how they would manage a PvP system while keeping it balanced is what intrigues me the most, because if you come up against a whale, I mean, Legends already has an issue with it as it is. With whales versus non-whales, or people who don't spend any money at all, there's a clear disparity in PvP. But Legends is the PvP side of like Dragon Ball games. But the Dokkan have a PvP system. It would intrigue me with what they would do and how they would do it. Again, especially with the disparity between whales who have like every unit in the game rainbowed, versus someone who doesn't put a lot of money into the game or is free to play, who doesn't have all these new flashy units, and maybe has a dupe or two max in certain units. So for them to make it balanced really intrigues me in how they would do it. Or maybe they wouldn't do a straight up direct PvP, you versus a friend at all, like, just because it wouldn't be balanced. I'll be interested to see how they do it. But B, I think B is probably where it's at. Again, A would be interesting, but if it went like just kind of normal direct PvP versus friends, there's a huge imbalance already unless they figured out a way to balance it. But B intrigues me a lot more, which is I would like to team up with friends, which means, having like a raid boss system where you play with your friends against a raid boss, take down a big, HP bar, earn rewards while doing so. You get it to like a kind of like a milestone in health, then you beat it, everyone gets rewards. I think that would be kind of cool, like a raid boss system. I think that would be kind of like one big boss and you and your friends team up to take it down with your teams. I think that would be kind of cool. I think that would probably work best for Dokkan being a single player game. So, I think that's what I would go for. Again, I said, let me know down your, let me know down in the comments your kind of choices for what you would pick for these questions. Then you have C, which is I like to interact with friends, which I can only imagine is you can communicate with your friends. Maybe you have like a base kind of, system set up where you can go like sit in their base, see what they've decorated it with. Kind of like Ultra Impact and some other games I've played before, which I'll be honest, I do not really care for that at all. But yeah, I probably like B, because again, A, if there was a direct PvP system, I don't know how they would balance it, even though it does intrigue me a bit, but I think B would probably be the best. And then, one of the next questions is, what is the reason why you want to include a character on your team? This essentially just covers all factors, in my opinion. One's about animations, one's about how they perform, so how good they are, and one's about how well they work as a team, so also links. So I mean, it's just pretty much all of them. So answer that how you will. And now this is what interests me the most. What is your expectation for the international version in the future? Immediately, A has pondered or just piqued immediate interest from everyone who's seen this. Which means, again, for them to ask this specifically and not just be like, just give us your answers and that's it, means they must have been thinking about this to even suggest it or ask it. Which is implementing characters at the same time as the Japanese version of the game. which means global and JP would be fully synced up with future releases. Whatever Dokkan Fest JP would get, global gets. There's no time frame between the two versions. Then this also does mean, on the other hand, which I've seen people talk about, the potential for global to no longer have discounts, no longer to have tickets. They could implement it on JP as well, which would be great, so everyone kind of wins. But I don't know if they would do that. So that could remove that. Also, there's no, you know, it does keep the game fresh. But again, on the other hand, to kind of combat that, you can no longer plan your summons. You know, you can't sit here and be like, well, there's a transforming future Trunks coming out, future Gohan's coming out. I can skip those and save for Saying Day or there's Year 7 anniversary because they're the best units in the game. I know this because I've seen it on JP. You can't do that anymore, which at the same time is being quite cool because everything's fresh and new. At the same time is your stones essentially are never safe because you never know what's coming next. So there is that. But it does say implementing characters at the same time. So maybe in terms of Dokkan Fest and character releases, JP and Global will be fully synced up. In terms of updates and new events, maybe not, because it doesn't specify. It specifically says characters at the same time. So maybe updates, you know, for example, version Z, and also, you know, as I said, potentially new events, new category missions for events, new stages. Maybe they wouldn't be implemented at the same time, apart from like obvious ones like Dokkan Fest. You know, so you can actually awaken the characters, or Dokkan awaken the characters. But it doesn't actually specify, so maybe that, which would be nice, but at the same time, you kind of lose out on a lot of added advantages us global players do have, apart from essentially having to wait for them, which is the huge kind of downside. But B is implementing characters prior to the Japanese version, which is just no. I say no, I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, I don't really care. I mean, we've had this before with the LR Strength Broly, we've had it with the Dokkan Fest hit. It'd be kind of cool having them first. But at the same time, I don't really care, because either way, both versions are going to get them anyway, which is kind of the best way to have it. C is a definite no-no, which is adding content exclusive to the international version. While that is beneficial to me, because I only play global, and it would be quite selfish of me to say yes. You know, I don't lose anything here. At the same time, no. There shouldn't be any disparity between either version of the game. Like, one game shouldn't have one unit and then the other one shouldn't. One game shouldn't have something and the other game shouldn't. It's just not fair. Just as simple as that. It's not fair. One version shouldn't have something the other should. Like, you know, it just shouldn't work like that. So that is a just complete no. And then D is, of course, other free answer. But this one really interests me because it must mean they're thinking about it. For them to specifically ask, having characters drop at the same time as the JP version of the game. Which could see Global and JP fully sync up. Funny enough, just like Ultra Impact has, which seems to be working out really well, but it doesn't specify, you know, it just says characters. So, as I said, it could be updates and version of the game and new events we still have to wait for, but we do get the Dokkan Fests and the anniversary at the same time, which would be kind of nice, but there is pros and cons to that. And then there's one final question, which is pretty much about the producer's letter itself, where it says, what is your expectation for the producer's letter? Which is A, new information about characters and events, B, communication with the operation team via servers, etc. C, other free answer. D, I have no specific expectations. In my opinion, it's A and B. You know, we want to see new characters that are coming, we want to know about new events, you know, the details, and then B, to actually communicate with us like this to continue improving the game. So I think it's both. Again, let me know down in the comments your answers for all of these, but especially let me know down in the comments, what would you think about Global and JP being fully synced up after all these years? Would you want it? Would you not? Let me know down in the comments. I'm going to end this one here. As I said, we are 8 subs off 100 subs, so if you could subscribe, that'd be very much appreciated. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. And again, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. And